All right, everybody, welcome back. So today, very special guest. Not even really sure that I should be interviewing her. I'm not sure I'm smart enough. But Ms. Megan Harris with Empora Title. So you guys are the technology, I don't want to mess it up, but technology-based title company?
Yep, that's
okay.
right.
So the really smart people in title.
Nice, yeah. There's a lot of really smart people in title, and we try to hire all of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're a digital-first title company for real estate
I knew
investors.
that. Okay, you're right. Digital-first title. So tell me about that. What makes you different from all the other title companies that are on every corner like McDonald's?
Yeah, for sure. For title companies, when we started Empora, we really zeroed in on investors first.
Right.
And when we looked at the opportunity in title, investors do not have a good, scalable, national solution
Right.
From a title partner perspective. So first and foremost, the biggest thing that makes us different is that we're focused on investors wholly. So it's who our bread and butter is built around.
A little bit of a gamble, because what I explain to people all the time is, when we're investors and, we bring the worst deals to title companies, right? So you're purposely digging to the bottom of the barrel and saying, please bring us all of your stuff, right? Because, what do we do as investors? We go out there and hopefully, we're making situations better, but we're looking for people with problems or distress, right? So the more problems that we can solve, the lower we can get that price. And then sometimes there are multiple problems, right? That divorce, taxes, bad tenants, whatever it is. And that's fantastic on the investor side, the wholesaler side. But to get to the end, which we always promise, clear title and proration of taxes, sometimes that's like this cavern of cleaning up stuff, right?
Yep.
So you purposely wanted to be in that business.
Yep, we are the cleanup crew. Yep.
The cleanup crew, clean up in aisle 4.
Yep,
okay?
clean up in aisle 4. Yeah, on Main Street, right?
Yeah,
we really like working with investors because it's really just a matter of what problems you want to deal with.
Yeah.
So frankly, the title problems are more interesting to deal with. And yes, it's more stressful because it's compressed timelines and all that.
Right.
But it's a lot more fun to help people through those situations than it is just balancing with a lender in the last 48 hours.
Right.
It's a different business and it's tricky for its own reasons, but it's really fun for us to work with investor partners and help them grow and see them take their business to the next level and really be part of that impact.
Nice. What were you doing before all this started?
Yeah.
How did you start? Little Megan comes out of college and...
Yeah, so I actually used to work in product management for a software company that was selling software to title businesses.
So you've always been smart.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
good.
always worked in technology and just spent a lot of time, really rolling up my sleeves with title processors and saw how much their tools and their software was really holding them back.
Yeah.
And their customers are, signing stacks of paper and having to drive to the title office to get anything done, and just really fell in love with the problem and decided to do something about it.
Why do you think title hadn't kept up with other industries?
Yeah, that's a great question. So title is a super disparate industry, super fractured. There's 32,000 small offices all over the U.S., and none of them really have the buying power or the operational power to build their own systems.
Right.
So a lot of them have the right ideas. We hire really smart people, smarter than me, who know how things should work, and they just have never had the backing of a software team to go and solve it. So really it's that, technology has changed most industries over the past 20 years, but title in particular has never, really invested the time and money into fixing its own problems.
Is it because they're, these branches or title companies are generally so small that, how much budget is there to put into that, right?
Yeah, so really small. And then the other thing is it's really representative of a paradigm shift where, from our perspective, we try to communicate digitally with our clients as much as they want.
Right.
And for many title companies, that's a big shift.
Yeah.
If you've been working with the same agent brokerage for the past 10 years and, they come in to do their signings on Tuesday at 3 p.m. every week, the idea of shifting that relationship from that to I'm going to send you a message through my site is a big shift. So, but there's a lot of people out, in the consumer community who want that, who don't want to, come in and hold the cardboard key. So
the cardboard key is kind of cool, but I do get it, and I think title companies, I think it's fair to say, run by people who've been doing it the same way for 40 years. Yeah. And they may not necessarily want to change.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely. Yeah, change is hard, and I think that's something that, the industries you mentioned before have struggled with, and title is certainly on the lagging end of.
So as the owner and founder for Empora, what was your first thought? Maybe I'll start a title company. Tell me kind of how that kernel started, because everybody has an amazing idea, right? But most people don't ever do anything about it.
Yeah, so through having to sell software to title companies and being told that nothing was ever going to change by so many different people, that really just lit a fire under me to go and do something about it.
Yeah.
And I actually got laid off from that company and took a year to catch my breath. And one of our tech competitors, one of Empora's tech competitors, announced a fundraise in the middle of 2020. And I was walking down the street and I was reading the announcement and I was like, that's not it. Like, that's not the product that's going to win. And vividly remember thinking to myself, if I don't go start this company, I don't go and solve this problem, like I will regret it for the rest of my life. So that was the day that I decided to start Empora.
So that's a huge leap.
Yeah.
Was that out of character for you, or were you just like, I do this stuff all the time, I can do this? Or?
I wouldn't say it was out of character. I mean, you probably feel this way to some extent. When you decide to start a business, it usually comes from a place of conviction and, tunnel vision, if you will. Like once you have it, you're like, I'm going to see it through.
Everybody told me what I was doing was the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah.
Every single person. Yeah. That's the dumbest shit ever. Why would you want to do that?
Yeah. And look at you guys now, So, yeah.
Okay. So from walking down the street, reading that announcement, like how long before you kind of really got started, and what were the first steps and obstacles and hurdles?
Yeah, so later that day.
Later that same day?
Yeah, later that same day, I went home and got out a whiteboard and
whiteboards. Love whiteboards.
Yeah, whiteboard business model. Whiteboards are great, not for operations, but for ideas, they're great.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to buy any more whiteboards.
Yeah, nice.
I do have this amazing vibe board that's very cool. No more whiteboards, and I'm afraid I won't even have a whiteboard in my new office.
Yep. You have no regular walls in your office. Yeah.
No.
Nice. Yeah. So, mapped out the business model and then started moonlighting. And the first 4 months, I basically took coffee with anybody in real estate who would meet with me in Columbus. And met with agents and lenders and a bunch of different people. So this is before we even incorporated.
You hadn't zeroed in on investors yet.
No, not yet. Nope. And then actually had a conversation with a guy named Ben Vale, who runs a short-term rental business in Columbus. And he was the one who tipped me to investors. And he said, hey, like agents usually have JVs with title companies. They're very used to a way of doing things. Why don't you go talk to investors, or typically, high growth, a little bit younger in their business profile. And the rest is history. I mean, since that day, we've been focused on investors ever since.
Yeah. It always mystifies me because, when I was just in Chattanooga and we were working locally, I had one title company that I worked with. It took me a couple to figure out the right one. Patty would call me sometimes and she's like, bro, where do you get these people from? I'm like, because some of the sellers are crazy, the buyers are a little goofy too. But anyways, what mystified me was that title companies didn't want to work with investors because, whether we're going, the economy's going up or down, like investors, we're the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
Right? I get it, or our files suck. Clearly, I get it. There's 92 dead people and everything's hinging on this, mimeograph, quick claim deed from Staples that's worthless. But investors will always pivot no matter what is going on in the economy and find a way to do deals, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then you always get the rebound of, oh, hey, now this deal's rehabbed and I want to resell it. So you get that other side of the business too.
I mean, what you said is super important and had a really big impact on us last year. So I joke and I say some of it was strategy and some of it was luck that we picked investors, right? But
listen, so much of my life, like our wealth was luck. Like it seemed like the right thing, but who knew the market was going to 4X? And
right. We almost tripled last year in comparison to the year prior, and no other title company can say that.
Right.
And I attribute that to the fact that we work with investors because they got resourceful when everything changed. They stayed in business, and they did less, but they persisted. And I'm an immigrant's daughter and come from relatively humble upbringings.
Where were your parents from?
My dad is actually from England.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep. I'll work my ass off for the entrepreneurs all day. Because they're just really fun to support and see grow.
Yeah. So this is 2020, you said, when you were feeling it out a little bit?
Yep.
So do you think COVID helped or hurt?
Actually it helped us quite a bit because...
Same for us.
Yeah.
Like I think, honestly, without COVID, we wouldn't exist.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Well, I think just the industry changed and society had to adapt, right? Remember Zoom and I would send people to the title company and they would pull up, not be able to get out of the car. Somebody would come out with a clipboard and be like, here you go, right?
Yeah.
But it made remote signings way more normal.
Yep.
Like I think for us and starting what we do and working remote, and for you too, right, in multiple states, I think that it definitely helped. I think it helped us.
It definitely helped. I mean, in my seed fundraising pitch deck, I have a map of the U.S. And before COVID, there were 8 states that had passed a RON legislation, remote online notary legislation. It had been kind of slow. Virginia was the first, but it was just kind of plodding along. And then when COVID came, 45 states passed interim legislation to enable virtual signings. And not many of them have rolled it back since COVID kind of went away.
So is
that's
that
huge.
now, can we do that everywhere now? Or
most places you can.
Really?
Yeah. There's some that you can't. There's some states that have, either amended or just never went there in the first place. But for the most part, you can.
So do you guys do that?
Yeah.
So that's the thing, like you hold your ID up to like the camera or something, and it like does a picture, something. Okay.
Yep, it's kind of like a Zoom call. And to be honest, it's interesting because from a security perspective, it's actually more secure in the sense that it's recorded.
Yeah.
You know, they go through KBA, have, you know, obviously
what's
their...
KBA?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's knowledge-based authentication.
Okay.
No, you've done it. It's when you go on, you have to answer the questions about like, you know, what kind of car have you owned? And for me, it's like, I've never owned a Camaro, you know, or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't go to school there, and I've never had that credit card or whatever.
Yeah. So there's certainly trade-offs to it, but it also helps with things like funding timelines. So we get docs back instantly, and that helps. Yeah. So that has changed quite a bit. And, you know, back to your earlier question, most title companies just don't have the infrastructure to implement that well. Because it starts a new conversation where it's like, okay, the normal thing would be for me to just send a notary to you. Title company's whole team is set up to just do that. On our site, they can actually pick where they can say, this is what I would like to do. And then our team, you know, gets a notification for that. You guys probably have something similar.
Right.
But, you know, most title companies just aren't thinking about it.
So what percentage of closings happen like the traditional way, either a courtesy closing or mobile notary, as opposed to the online?
Yep. So as you know, on the buyer side, the lenders don't typically allow for it, which is just a whole other topic for another day.
Yeah.
They should, but probably for us, I would say maybe a third to like a half max of our sellers prefer virtual. Yeah.
And you would think like far less fraud on the buying side. When was the last time you heard of like a fraud case of the buyer not being the real buyer but bought 10 grand to closing?
Yeah,
like
right.
Never, right?
Never. No, that doesn't happen for sure.
So let's talk about that fraud. That's a big thing, right?
Yeah.
I remember it started a couple years back with wires.
Yep.
Like in our town, there's little stories running around of title companies that bamboozled for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, that is a huge problem. We've been super lucky, knock knock. Haven't had any wire fraud cases at Empora so far, and having a single source of truth in our system certainly helps. I think in our business, and the thing that I would caution investors on is we see a lot more petty impersonation fraud, like family members who...
We get that too.
Yeah.
You know, like the guy who will never get on the phone with you but just wants to text, right?
Yeah, just wants to text, or you know, somebody's sister was in Georgia, but now all of a sudden they're in Ohio today, and you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
So we see a lot more of that, where it seems like, you know, as the economy, you know, becomes more strained, people are more willing to commit that kind of fraud than some of the, you know, other things that we've heard about prior to COVID.
Yeah, I mean, we see that family members or somebody, you know, family member trying to like screw their two brothers.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah, there's nobody else. It's just me.
Yep. Nope.
Just me. Send me all the money. Right?
Yeah. No. Right.
So that kind of goes back to, and I've evolved on this. You know, when I first started wholesaling in 2009, I would tell my buyers like, "Oh, you can get title insurance if you want. You don't have to get title insurance." Until I bought a rehab and somebody missed a notice of contract, a memorandum, and I had to go through and do a super quiet title because the guy just would not release it. But you know, I've definitely evolved on that now, and I tell everybody you should get title insurance.
Yeah.
Because you're here to protect them.
Yeah.
Like that's literally the only job of the title company. Well, to me, the most important job of the title company.
Definitely the most important job. I mean, to be honest, I feel similarly, of course, right? And it's not just about, you know, making another $500 on the closing. It's about, you know, we want to make sure that you have a good experience when you use our product. And, you know, if anything were to happen, you would just want the coverage, you know, to protect you on the other side, for sure. And especially with private lenders too. Yeah. I'm a big proponent of people, you know, getting those loan policies for private lenders, because they really don't know what's going on. That's okay. That's not their job.
Yeah, they're like I know Stephanie. I'm going to put up $200,000. She's my friend.
Yeah.
Like, I'm assuming it's all going to work out because I trust her.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like just pay the $200, get them the policy. You know.
Yeah. You know, something that I get asked a lot, and that are, you know, of course, doing transactions for investors, we get a lot is, you know, well, you want to use Empora or you want to use XYZ title company. You know, are they more expensive? And like, I feel like these are pretty standard. Like, there's some variance, but not a ton.
Yeah.
Like 5%, maybe 10%. That maybe it can swing.
Yeah.
Right? Would you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And what I tell people is, you know, listen, for us in our side of the world, like we want to make sure our clients' deals get closed. So we obviously want to work with the best people, like we do a lot with you guys at Empora. And you know, because I want to make sure that deal closes and it closes correctly. And if you're our client and you're doing a self-purchase, I don't want to use a shitty title company that's just going to like, yeah, here you go with some raggedy, but you know, title policy company that works in 3 states or something.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think I heard you say it the other day, good, fast, and cheap. You can have 2 or 3, you know? And investors, I think we all should just accept that we need things fast and we also want them done well. Yeah. And so I don't even think, I mean, to your point, I don't think there's a lot of variance in and investor-specific companies charging more, right? But you certainly don't want to negotiate that down because you want that escrow officer to pick up your phone call when you need something.
I tell people clear, we are not the cheapest in the market. You want, I don't know, we are pretty affordable compared to some people out there, but like I'm not out there to be the cheapest guy.
Yeah.
You know, when I look at my team and I'm like, I want to make sure they're providing you the right level of service.
Yeah.
Like, and I know you guys are very cognizant of that too. You know, what do I have to charge to be able to provide you that level of service?
Yeah, right. And I'm sure you guys see this and deal with it. We want the best people.
Yeah.
And we want to go find the people who love working with investors. They know them by name. They have a reputation in their markets. And we want to pay those people well, right? Because I know that sometimes like a client might mess up their Saturday night, you know? It's
going to happen, right? Like, you know, the one thing I talk to our team and we spend a lot of time. So, you know, investors have one personality type. They're entrepreneurs, hustlers, you know, let's jump out of the plane and build the parachute on the way down.
Yep.
Whereas your business and mine, your closers and our coordinators, they're very attention to detail, love problem solving. Like, you know, 180 degrees, the opposite personality
not
type.
Like you and me, you know?
Yeah, we're yappy and talky. And, but I have to explain to our coordinators, hey, you know, these are clients. They're just a different personality type.
Yep.
They run really fast. They're not really that concerned about details. So, you know, but it's our job to, you know, to support them and keep them out of trouble and, you know, ultimately get their deals closed. Like that's literally our job.
Yeah,
you know?
It literally is. I mean, just get the deal closed and get it done on time and try to keep everybody as happy as possible because, you know, it's somebody's paycheck, it's somebody's rent, it's somebody's whatever it might be. And we play a really important role.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I tell them, listen, I use the same example all the time. I'm like, hey, listen, this could be little Bobby in Phoenix is only closing this month and it's $10,000, right?
Yeah.
And he's got a wife or a girlfriend, hopefully not both, and a VA. And, you know, and I have 4 jokes and that was one of them, right?
Nice.
You know, but, you know, he's got a team and like he's counting on this. It's important that we find a way to close it and we're not doing anything shady. None of us are losing our companies over doing dopey stuff. But is there a way that we can find to work through these problems, right? Because sometimes there are alternate solutions. And, you know, when I first started as a wholesaler, I would take my contract into this title company that was investor friendly, like they dealt with investors. And I had this one attorney who'd always be like, oh, David, you can't close this one. You need a super quiet title. I'm like, you know, $8,000, you know, oh, you can't close this one, dead person, probate, throw it away. Until finally I was just so upset. I'm like, dude, we call this guy Dr. No. Like he was an attorney because everything was no. And finally I'm like, Jeremy, what can we do?
Yeah.
Like, I just came from this lady's house. There's got to be something that we can do. What would you do? And that was like the magic question. All of a sudden it was, oh, well, I guess if you did this, this, and this, you could.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, how many deals have I thrown away because you just didn't want to be bothered?
Yeah.
Right? And that's what happens when you're not working at an investor-friendly title company. You may not even realize how much money you're throwing away.
Yeah.
Because they're telling you this can't be closed, or you don't have a good coordinator that understands how to navigate that process and find a way to, you know, is there another way that we can do this, right?
Yep, 100%. Yeah, try to get to a yes and figure out what needs to be true. My version of that question with my team is what needs to be true for this to happen.
Okay, I like that. And that's why we like working with you guys, because we know, like some title companies, it's pulling teeth, right?
Yeah.
You know, we get this remote title company in whatever state, and it's the only people we can use. But we'd much rather work with, you know, investor-friendly people who want to get these deals closed and want to have good relationships with the clients.
Yeah, for sure. And to your point, if you've got, you know, willing parties and everybody wants to get the house sold, it's typically a reasonable situation that can be worked through.
That's what I tell people. They'll be like, well, you know, can you close every deal? I'm like, man, if everybody's on board and will answer the phone, we can do miracles.
Oh, 100%.
Like, I'm not putting anybody in a plane to go to Albuquerque to solve your deal. But if people will just answer the phone, like, but if you get that one holdout who's just like, I'm not signing this, bro, there's not a lot I can do. You can do petition a title and there is something, but, you know, can I get you clear title? No.
By Friday? No. Yeah.
And this happens to us too, so I'll put you on the spot.
Yep.
Like, what are some unrealistic expectations that sometimes clients come to you with?
Adding a private lender to a closing 15 minutes before signing.
Awesome. Okay.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And what are your wiring instructions? Because he's going to send the money right now.
Yeah, right. So that's one. Let's see. Undoing foreclosure auctions after they have already occurred without redemption.
Yeah.
That's one. You know, to be honest, there's not a lot of stuff that I'm like, that's just blatantly unreasonable, but I think that investors can do to help themselves close more easily, whether it's with us or whoever.
Yeah.
Get people on the phone, that's one. Get your docs in order, please.
Yeah.
Like your operating agreements, please just go get one, you know?
I get it. You don't have to have one.
I
just
get
it. LegalZoom or Rocket Lawyer or whatever.
Please don't, because, you know, the thing is, what title companies, what they're saying, judgment call about how trustworthy you are, right? And so whether or not, you know, to to give you some leeway on whatever problem you're trying to solve. Your stuff is,
Do
the
you
more
look like a
willing they
real
are.
business?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Do you look like a real business?
Yeah.
You know, so it helps a lot when, you know, you've got people on the phone, we can get the docs in order, and, you know, that's half the battle right there.
You think it's, 3 days. 15 years ago, that's what your guru did, 7-day closes. They're pretty much done. Like,
Yeah.
maybe once in a while we can move heaven and earth, but it can't be every, you just can't do that because there's, we're busy. But yeah, getting your docs in order, we see that as an issue, right? And that's one of the things for us when we start a file, we try to gather up as much of that stuff, as we possibly can.
Yep, right at the beginning. Yeah, the more on the same page people are, the better. So I think that's the biggest thing. And to your point, I like that. I like the comment about the 3-day closing. When people ask me that, how quickly can you close? And I say, well, how responsive are the people involved?
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Like, do you have a buyer with cash ready to go?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, I don't.
People don't, and I didn't understand this for a long time. Title companies, it's an insurance agency, right? So you're asking them to gamble on your deal.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm probably guilty of this too at one point. Megan, come on, just push this one through. Just get it. Just do it. And the reality is, on the best day, you get paid off of the title policy. You get a percentage of that. I don't think that's like a secret that you're a business.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a very small percentage of the overall deal. But if that deal goes south, you're on the hook for
100%.
Yeah, for a big amount.
Right. Yeah. So we had a situation actually just a week ago where we had a seller with an AG lien, a tax lien on their house in Ohio, and we had to make a decision about whether or not we were going to do a holdback on that deal for the investor. This was our best investor partner who has always treated us well, and to me that's an easy yes, right? But if you're new and you yell at my team at 4:45 on Friday, like I'm never going to say yes, because I'm not going to gamble, my license on your unreasonable ask. So I think just thinking about title or TC as, a service provider and a member of your team will just pay dividends, in your business. We're not a vending machine. We're a partner. You know?
I mean, we're real people too. The fastest way to not do any work with our company is to yell at one of the girls. Like you get me and you're not going to like that call because I'll just cut you loose. It's fine. I don't want to work with anybody who's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Like, luckily I'm past that point in my life where we just don't have to do that. But it's a good rule, right? Don't be an asshole. Like treat people the way you want to be treated. I get it. People make mistakes. It happens.
Yep.
Things don't always go smooth.
Oh, 100%.
But I promise you, we're always working very hard to get these deals closed.
Yep.
But yeah, just be a good person. Like be the person that you'd want your mother to be dealing with. You know?
Yep. Yeah, right. And we'll own it. Like when we make mistakes, we'll own it. We'll rectify it. We'll figure something out. But it's a lot easier. It's a lot more enjoyable when everybody's being respectful.
Nice. So before I let you go, what's the grand vision for Empora?
Grand vision for Empora. Well, one, we want to automate the title process from the ground up, which has a lot of tendrils, but people should be able to find out how much they owe on their house without having to pay a private industry to go and figure it out for 2 weeks.
Right.
We got TurboTax and Credit Karma and all these experiences in, our financial world that do that for other things. So, houses and real estate are the obvious next stop. That needs to happen for sure. And between now and then, we're just going to continue to grow nationally with the investors that we work with and continue to push towards a fully digital closing.
Wow. And you eventually want to be in all 50 states?
Eventually.
50 states?
Yeah, eventually. Yep. Maybe never California, if I'm being honest.
Dude, it's a lot.
It's a lot. 2 licenses for every county is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that would be great.
Let's be one. I think we've talked about this before over dinner, but let's talk about title and the blockchain.
Oh, sure.
Because I hear that's every day or every week. That's some Facebook post, right?
Yep.
Why is title not on the blockchain?
Yep.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna be fast. It's gonna be next week.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not going to be next week. So that was one of the projects that I worked on before Empora. And funny enough, Max Levchin, who was the founding CTO of PayPal, is he led our seed round. So he was our first investor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I remember when I pitched him, he also asked about this. And I was explaining to him how, the blockchain works in title. And he said, if I live in a third world country and the government shows up with a gun, your blockchain is not going to protect you or your house, right? So there's certainly it's funny, haha, but he definitely had a point when he said that. The blockchain technology could do what people say it could do for title today. It is all about
in a theoretical world.
In a theoretical world, right. But it's all about, are the public parties ready to adopt it and ready for that side of the change, which they're not at all.
I think we're 30 years away because, and we're seeing this with realtors right now. now. I don't think realtors are going to go away. I don't think houses are going to be just something that you buy and sell online. I don't think we're going to get there, because what do? We, especially in our business, we see so many messed up titles. Like, who's going to fix that? Like, who's going to be the person that holds Mrs. Smith by the hand and says, okay, let's get through this process, right?
Yeah,
She's not going to go to some marketplace and be like, I want to sell 123 Main Street. Give me my $80,000.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's the most important asset in most everybody's life.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be a need for that kind of experience.
Right. Somebody that can look at it and, okay, great. Somebody just turned dirt today, built this brand new house. That could be on the blockchain.
Yeah.
But what about these houses that hasn't had their title cleared up in 30 years? Like, how is the blockchain going to fix that?
Yeah, right. Well, and Amazon exists and Barnes & Noble also still exists.
Right.
So, I think trying to force everybody in the same direction never really works.
No. Well, there's 3,500 counties or so.
Yeah.
Right. And all of those counties are not giving up their little fiefdom of recording and all
Definitely
that
not.
stuff.
Definitely not. They make too much money on it.
Yeah.
So.
I think blockchain will take over in other places like medical records far before real estate. I think
agree.
real estate will be one of the last places.
I agree.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you and submit some deals from Empora?
Yeah, thank you. So EmporaTitle.com, very easy to find. You can actually submit a deal right on our site. And then any of our team members, it's just their first name at EmporaTitle.com.
Nice.
So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Appreciate you.